Okay, so in part one, I was talking about the background of the problems that Planteray faces and how those originated, and the reason why there's such a polarization of opinions about the company, and why people both, they just love taking sides about it, and how this has split the online rum community. Now, there is a lot of critical commentary out there. Some of it is led by advocates for the consumers, some of it is led by producers, some by industry advocates, some by bloggers or reviewers, many by consumers themselves. But there's no question that everyone has an opinion, and usually that's against Planteray. Now, I contend that this is ultimately not only counterproductive for rum as a whole, but it does the reputations of those who indulge in it with such fervor no favors whatsoever, whatever delusions of being defenders of the faith they may tell themselves, and they do. It makes the ongoing and condescending ad hominem dismissals, even insults, directed at anyone with a voice raised in favor of plantation, even those who recount facts and don't traffic in opinions, seem like personal, private vendettas against them. And if you read them over time, it's kind of like hard to avoid that many of them actually are. And to me, that dilutes their effectiveness quite a bit because, of course, it is always so personal, right, that it seems like they're attacking the person and not actually making an argument. Now, if you think I'm kidding about this, just go through Facebook, the rum clubs, or Reddit, or wherever, and Google the stuff, and trust me, the arguments will come up, as well as the invective and the dislike and I swear, even the hate. It's right out there in the open. It's got to stop, I think. But let's just consider some of the main points of contention, which are brought up at every opportunity. Aging is one of the main ones, right? Now, aging, secondary or primary, in another country, not the country of production, which is one of the original bête noirs of the commentariat, it's a thing. It always has been. It's done by the majority of rum making or rum producing companies or brands, especially the independents, and with share and various dealers, sellers, and brokers in the frame, it is really kind of unavoidable. Sometimes it's all in the country of origin. Sometimes it's in another country. It is not unusual. It happens, it always has, and to some extent that's the issue because the real value is seen to be accruing in the country of issue of the bottle, not the country of issue of origin of the rum itself. Be that as it may, at this point in time, there is actually no law prohibiting it, not yet. One might hope that there will one day be one, but it hasn't happened yet. Now, if the charge is that such an externally aged rum should not be called or labeled as Guyanese or Jamaican or Barbados rum, which is a tenet of some, but not all GI requirements, that's perfectly fine, and it should be fought for. But in the courts, and with the government of the effective country in the frame, and with educational seminars and masterclass sessions of international rum festivals, soberly, intellectually, with facts in the play, not in the pages of social media where, it just fucking goes off the rails every single time and dissolves people's thinking like acid. Another point I want to make is whether or not Planteray likes to use the word terroir in its marketing, as, they usually do, and, they've gotten 10 different kinds of shit about it, but it is really just that, marketing. And anyone who expects truth in advertising, in marketing, is clearly not in business, and worse, is begging to be lied to. To make an argument on the nefarious nature of plantation because they lie about terroir or deliberately use it incorrectly in their promotional materials is to repeal modern consumer targeting. Moreover, by focusing on this one company and its shenanigans, you're giving everyone else who does exactly the same thing a free pass, which I think is both blinkered and unfair. I mean, come on, be consistent and complete in your criticism, would you please? And come on, do we really expect truth in advertising? It's like a real estate agent assuring you as he pats you on the back with one hand while picking your pockets with the other. It's about you, not me. Yeah, sure it is. Another point I wanted to make is this. If Planteray fights to get a weak or amended GI into place, that's not driven by any kind of personal animus of any kind. It's a business decision on their part, just as it is a business decision on the part of the other distillers to fight it. And the attendant moral outrage that everyone pretends to is completely irrelevant. It is nothing but a way to get people fired up because if you think about it, the morality that each side supports conveniently aligns with each side's financial interests. And that highly vocal minority, which makes the most noise, will have exactly zero impact on any of that. Now, you might ask, what interests are those? Well, here are some matters to consider. A strong GI, which codifies local rules of production and labeling, especially the various value-added processes like distillation, long aging, premiumization, that speak to the uniqueness of the country's rum-making heritage and this particular rum's profile, Jamaica, Guyana, Barbados are usually the examples that are quoted. It's clearly in the interests of the producers there who set that standard. It is the producers who set those standards and make them, not unnaturally, in their own interests, and pass their ideas to the government of the day, and the governments take those recommendations into account when enacting the laws that enshrine them. However, as an aside, just because a country has a GI, and many already do, it takes a much more concerted political effort to have that accepted by major trading blocs like the United States or the EU. Reciprocity of their product recognition and protection gets into the mix there, like recognize my scotch or recognize my cheese or whatever it is. Existing companies like Planteray have a huge footprint in markets like the EU. In 2022, for example, they moved 400,000 liters of their rums through one country alone, Sweden. That's a lot. And further, in some Scandinavian countries, shelf space, shelf locations, and retail access to the government monopoly stores is determined by a point system based on sales, and the name of the product is linked to that. Changing the name of a rum, simply, you might think that's a simple thing, from Barbados rum to rum from Barbados, means it is treated like a brand new product, and they have to start again from the very bottom. Literally, rebuilding a presence and market share that took a decade or more to create. And you wonder why Planteray would fight a regulation that would kneecap them and hand sales to its competitors for that kind of sales volume? In a single country, people, you cannot be serious. Like nobody would do that. You would go under if you tried. So it never seems to compute that also if Planteray fails because of such draconian or stringent regulations or reduces its output and has to kind of like go under because of such rules, a lot of people will be out of work and a lot of taxes will be foregone, which is also something that's not often considered or discussed when something like a GI and regulations are coming up. In any case, the final ruling on that geographical indicator for any country that's involved is ultimately not the province of outspoken European or North American rum lovers, no matter how well-intentioned they are, but that of Barbadians and Jamaicans and Guyanese, lawyers, governments, actual producers and their local employees and consumers, people who are actually, impacted by this. It always irritates me when I see a bunch of people from the global north who have no commercial interest, no Barbadian, Jamaican, Guyanese, Trinidadian, Grenadian, or whatever connections outside their love of rum. They act as if their whole lives will come to an end if plantation wins, whatever the fuck that means. And then they go scorched earth with an air of martyrdom in their words to anyone who opposes them or offers a nuanced alternative. Now, to me, that just disrespects the ability of the islanders to come to a decision of their own or anyone else to have a dissenting opinion. It's like you can either have one or the other. You're either for us or against us. I mean, what? Whatever happened to constructive debate and engagement in these matters, however intransigent? At least you're talking without animus. You know what I mean? So such critics, as I mentioned, may not be buying the company's rum on principle or even banning the companies from their review queue or their festivals or their store shelves. Absolutely, they're right. But in what universe do they actually think they're doing regular islanders of the country affected a favor? By what right do they claim to speak for Jamaica and Barbados? Because they took a holiday there and bought a Foursquare and Appleton rum? Because their grandparents came from there? Oh, come on, give me a break. They don't live there. Richard Seale can do this, and he has every right to do so because it's his country and his company, his livelihood, and his employees at risk. So he damn well better should get up there on his soapbox and talk the story that he wants to have told and to make his case to the public. But all the other socially, morally crusading asshats I keep reading and hearing about, almost all of whom, remember, are not from Barbados or Jamaica at all, should just chill. Their arguments at the end don't matter because they will have no impact, and they have had no impact, none, on what the Barbadian and Jamaican governments or the Guyanese governments or whatever will enact into law. All they do is walk around pretending they're influencers, make a whole lot of damn noise, destroy relationships, break friendships, and make people swear off rums together because, it's just too much fucking drama. Again, who does this help? Since all their vitriol has, so far, not moved the needle one single inch. I submit that their attitudes and their poison, and for sure those who egg them on with regularly incendiary posts of their own, have done more damage to the rum community than Planteray ever has. They make a desert and call it peace, wrote Tacitus nearly 2,000 years ago. And that pretty much sums up all that they have accomplished so far. We'll continue this in part 3.